Everybody, and welcome back for May's Harvest of the Month. My name is Carrie Hollofield. I'm the registered dietitian for Charleston County School District. This month on May 28th, across all cafeteria lines will be South Carolina grown basil. And here with me today I have Allie from the Green Heart Project. He's going to tell you a little bit more about how basil is grown.
Awesome, thanks Carrie. So as Carrie said, this month our cafeteria lines are going to feature basil, which is a really delicious herb. Often when we're planting basil in our gardens, we'll plant it next to other crops like tomatoes that bugs like to eat, because the smell of basil will actually keep those insects away. And so this is called companion planting, so we plant these two companions together because they help each other grow. Basil will also give our tomatoes a slightly sweeter flavor, and it'll provide the tomatoes and will grow above and the basil will stay low, and they'll grow really well together. So I'm excited to make a recipe using basil today.
So today we have two special guests from MUSC who are going to tell us all about the nutrition of basil.
Hi, my name is Mary Grace, and I am a dietetic intern at MUSC.
Hi everyone, my name's Anna, and I'm also an MUSC dietetic intern.
Basil is a good source of vitamin K, and vitamin K promotes wound healing. Like when you have a cut on your finger, vitamin K is what helps to heal that wound.
Basil is also an excellent source of antioxidants. Antioxidants have lots of benefits for the body, including helping to lower blood pressure, which protects and strengthens the heart, allowing blood to pump more efficiently throughout the body.
So this month we are going to be making a spring pea stir fry using a bunch of fresh vegetables, including our featured basil. We're also going to be using some carrots and peas, which are both in season right now as well, so we have them growing in our Green Heart gardens. We're also going to use some other ingredients that I'm going to run through really quickly here. We're going to be using some garlic, some ginger, some carrots, some pepper, some olive oil, soy sauce, onion, broccoli, and then our basil, and some snap peas. And so to make our stir fry, we really just got to get these veggies ready to put them all in the pot together with our sauces. It's a pretty simple recipe, and what's fun about this is you can also add other vegetables that you might have on hand, like kale or zucchini or a bunch of other things you could throw in here as well, and it would all taste really yummy. All right, so I'm going to start with our broccoli. If one of y'all will hand me our broccoli over here. Perfect. And so for broccoli, you can either use a knife to cut off the thick stems at the bottom, or you can just use your hands to pull it apart. So I'm going to use my hands, just rip off our broccoli, and rip it into the smaller florets, as they're called, and collect them here, which we'll put in our stir fry. And so you can put more veggies in if you're trying to serve more people. Today, since we're just doing a taste test, I'm going to make a smaller recipe. Next up, I'm going to chop my carrots. So if I probably only need about one for our smaller recipe. So if you want to just pull one out of our bunch there, awesome. And for our carrot, we're going to use the bottom of it and not our carrot tops today. So I'm going to use my knife and carefully cut the top off and put that aside for us to compost. I'm also going to cut off the very tip of it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and slice down in some thin circles. Next, I'm going to dice my onion. So to do that, I'm going to cut off the piece of the onion that I want to use. So I'm going to use about half of our onion here. Put the other half to the side to use later, maybe in another recipe. Then I'm going to go ahead and take that skin off my onion, because we don't want to eat this outer shell. You might need to cut the ends off to be able to get the skin off. All right, and so dicing means that I'm going to cut it into some small squares. So I'm going to carefully, again, using my knife, cut it one way. I'm going to flip it and cut it the other way. I get these nice square cuts. Next, I'm going to chop up my pepper. And so to chop up my pepper, we've used peppers a long while back, so I'll review how we want to clear it up. We want to get all these seeds on the inside out of our pepper before we eat it. So what I'll do is I'm going to cut carefully around the center of the pepper. And again, put this to the side that we can compost. And then I'm going to go ahead and just slice it. And you can either leave it as these slices, or you can turn it the other way and dice it just like we did with our onion to make the bites a little bit smaller. Next up, we're going to grab our snow peas here. And so our snow peas, we can actually put these into our stir fry as is. They've been washed. The one thing you can look out for is if there's any stems on the end that are really long, you can pull them off. You could also cut them in half if you want them smaller, but I'm just going to leave them whole for now in our recipe today. The last two things that I'm going to prepare before we start stir frying is I'm going to get my garlic and my ginger. And for these, we only need a little bit of them because the flavor will go a long way. So for our garlic, we're going to take a clove and we're going to mince it. So again, we'll want to take our knife. We're going to cut the ends off and then press on it with our hand to get the skin to come off. And once we have our garlic clove, we're going to mince it, which means just cut it into really small pieces. And then our ginger, which is going to add a really yummy flavor as well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a veggie peeler and peel the skin off the very outside. And then we're going to go ahead and actually peel some of the inside of it and get a strip, and then use this strip and cut it up into really small pieces. And this will give some really delicious flavor to our stir fry. And we want to make sure we cut it pretty small because if you get a bite of ginger, it can be pretty strong. So the smaller we cut it, the more it's going to disperse throughout and let it have that really delicious ginger flavor in our recipe. So now that we have all of our ingredients ready to go, we're going to get ready to put it into our pot. All right, so now that we have all of our veggies prepared to be cooked, we're going to go ahead and turn on our stove here. And so we're going to have our pan, and remember when we're in the kitchen, it's going to be hot, so we want to be careful when we're moving in and around our cooking surface. So the first thing that I'm going to put in here is some olive oil. Let's go pass that down here, thank you. I'm going to put some olive oil in the pan, and then I'm going to put in my onions, carrots, and broccoli because they'll take a little bit longer to cook. Our snap peas and our peppers will cook up pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and just put these on and let them start heating up. And we're going to keep our basil till the end and use it as what's called a garnish. So we'll cut it up and put it on top. We could cook it with it, but we're going to save it till the end so we have a fresh taste of basil on top of our cooked stir fry. All right, so now that our veggies have started to cook that are in here, I'm going to add the rest of our ingredients, and then we're going to let it simmer for a while, which means letting it soak in the sauce and all the spices to get it that really yummy flavor. So I'm going to take my red pepper and put that into our pan here. I'm also going to put in our snap peas. If one of y'all will hand me our ginger and our garlic right there. I'm going to put in our ginger and sprinkle that in, and our garlic as well. Then I'm going to go ahead and mix this around. And then I'm going to grab our soy sauce and put it in. And you'll notice that on our soy sauce here, I got light soy sauce that's low in sodium. Soy sauce can be a hidden source of a lot of salt, and it's important that we make sure we're not eating too much on a daily basis. So we want to get light soy sauce for our recipe today. So I'm going to open up my soy sauce and I'm going to go ahead and put it in. And we'll hear it start to sizzle. And then I'm going to mix it around into our sauce here. And then I'm just going to let it, as I mentioned before, simmer, which means we're just going to keep it at kind of a medium heat with our sauce bubbling. And that's going to cook all of these yummy flavors into all of our veggies and get them softer and more flavorful. All right, so our taste tests are ready to go. And the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to add our fresh basil because it is our featured produce this month. So the way that we harvest basil is really simple. You can eat basil, a lot of times you can put basil on things that you're cooking, but you can also just eat it straight off the plant and put it into dishes as a fresh garnish or put it right on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my leaf and I'm going to do what's called a chiffonade cut, where I'm going to roll it up, grab my knife, and slice it so it comes out in these thin ribbons. And this basil is going to add a really nice fresh flavor on top of our stir fry. So I'll have our little ribbon cuts here. I'm going to grab them and I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle them over the top of our stir fry. And I'm going to do that for each of our plates so that we can all have some basil in our taste test today. Okay, so our taste test is ready to go. We have our fresh basil and all of our delicious veggies cooked in our sauce here. And so we're going to do our Green Heart taste test. If you'll remember from our last month and all the months before, when we do a Green Heart taste test, we have two rules that we follow. The first is that we wait for everyone to have one so we can all try it together. The second rule is that we say, don't yuck my yum. So when we're trying something, it might not be for us, but we're going to be respectful of the people around us who might enjoy this meal by not saying anything mean about the food that we're trying. When we're trying it as well, we're also going to give it our Green Heart rating to tell others how we feel about our taste test today. We give it a 3 if we really, really loved it and it was delicious. A 2 if it was okay, but we might change something about this recipe. And a 1 if we were brave and tried something new today, but this was just not for us. So we are going to go space out and do our taste test, and we'll come back with our Green Heart rating to let you know how it was.
Wow, Allie, that is delicious. I definitely give it a 3. The basil in it gives it such a nice flavor.
I'm also going to give it a 3 because I cleared my whole plate. I really loved the broccoli and how it soaked up all that delicious flavor, and also really liked the basil on top.
I'm gonna give it a 3 as well. I really liked how fresh the vegetables were and how crunchy everything was.
I'm also going to give it a 3 because I love the sugar snap peas. They added a great crunch to the recipe as well.
Thank you so much to Allie and our special guest for helping us prepare an amazing recipe today. Be sure to look at your cafeteria line on May 28th and try out this basil recipe. And we will see you in June.